So I know that we're kind of in this like funky conference mode where there's like a little bit of social anxiety and we're all like talking to new people. And if you're like me, you're very in your head right now. So before I start, I would love all of us to take just like a group collective breath. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's pretty easy. So on the count of 3, we're just gonna breathe in together, breathe in. And, like tighten your muscles as much as you can and like squeeze your face really, really hard and just like let it out with a sigh, just ha. It feels really good for me because I feel nervous. So can we do it one more time? Is that cool? So we're gonna breathe in together, like squeeze your muscles in your face really, really, really hard and let it out with a sigh. Cool, we're in San Francisco, so I was like, I feel comfortable doing this. People won't think it's weird. So I wanna start my talk with a story. A few months ago, I was at a business conference for entrepreneurs, and my job was to get a group of 10 women together and talk to them about ways that they wanted to take care of themselves more. And so being the facilitator, I just wanted to introduce myself and shared, hi, my name is Jillian. I'm the founder of The Joy List. My mission is to make New York City and eventually the world a less lonely place. I do that by hosting a newsletter where we feature 2 to 3 events for every day of the week that have a facilitated moment of connection. And I'm also the author of a book called Unlonely Planet, which, as you could guess, has the mission of making the world less lonely. There's a theme here of loneliness. I've said the word lonely like 10 times by this point. And I look at the circle of women, and they look a little bit tense, like a little bit awkward that I'm mentioning loneliness. And I'm a little bit nervous, so I am the facilitator. I say, I would love for everyone to go around and share your name and something that you're struggling with. This is a really diverse group of women from their 20s to their 60s, different races, different ability levels. And what happens next just completely blows my mind. These women go around and they share that making friends is actually the thing that they're struggling with the most in their life. And they also share that they have never confessed this to anyone else. These women have so much shame around their loneliness that they couldn't tell their partner or their best friend, but just because I gave them permission to talk about their loneliness, they opened up. And a moment that really brought this home for me was there were these 2 women who were sitting there. They were sitting there next to each other the whole day. It turns out both of them were single moms. They both had their daughters leaving for college recently, and they were embarrassed to reach out to their best friend and say, hey, like, I'm feeling pretty isolated right now. I would love for you to come over. One of the women even said to me, she said, I just don't want to be a burden to my friend. And seeing this, I realized that talking about loneliness really matters. And talking about connection really matters. And it should matter to all of you here if you're a startup founder, because your job is to solve consumer pain points. And from where I'm standing, the biggest consumer pain point in America right now is loneliness. It's what I've seen from my own experience and what I've also seen from research. So I know you all are a numbers crowd, so I will prove to you that loneliness is actually as big of an issue as I'm saying. So one issue is in the PLOS medical journal, they showed that being lonely is just as tied to early mortality as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I will say that one more time because this blew my mind. Being lonely is just as tied to having an early death as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And it's also directly connected to early mortality just as much as being obese or being an excessive drinker. Now think about how much we talk about those things, and we don't talk about loneliness. Again, there is so much shame rooted in that. So what I would love to say to all of you, really the big point of my whole talk, if you take away one thing, is that as startup founders, I believe that you should use traditional advertising less and create spaces for connection more. Because if you do that for your customers, you will be solving their biggest, most shameful pain point and you will have a way more loyal audience than any Instagram campaign or billboard could ever create. So you believe that loneliness is a problem. Actually, 2 more facts. One is that, a question for all of you, can you guess how many close friends the average American has? Just like shout out numbers at me. 2, I heard 3, I heard 1, 5. 5 is very wrong, unfortunately. So you would hope that I just told you these super bleak statistics about loneliness, and the average American has 1 close friend. 1. And to make things worse, 75% of people are not satisfied with the friendships that they do have. So this is a really big problem, and you are in a position to create events that bring people together. So you might be wondering how you do that. It's all well and good to say, create spaces that are beautiful and heartwarming and bring people together and they make friends. But how? So I'm a person who has curated thousands of events for my newsletter over the past 2.5 years. I'm writing a book about loneliness. I've hosted my own conference 3 times. I've hosted meditation circles. I've hosted dinner parties. I do a lot of hosting. Also, I love that you sat in the front row. Hello. So I've learned 4 ways that you can help people feel really safe in the container that you're making. 1 is to greet people with intention. I don't know about you, but there is no worse feeling than walking into a room where you don't know anyone and just kind of stepping in and looking around and being like, what do I do now? Like, who do I talk to? Where do I go? There's this feeling that I have of I just want to run away. And so as a facilitator, what you can do is just greet people. Everyone who comes into this space, 1, greet them with something tangible. That could be a piece of chocolate. It could be a cup of tea. And then also just greet them with kindness and introduce them to somebody else. Have your volunteer take that person, bring them into this space, and give them permission to talk to somebody else, because we've kind of lost the social skill of talking to new people. We need permission to have those conversations, and we desperately want them. We just don't know where to begin. So 1, greet with intention. 2 is to create clear, what I call hurdle rules. This means any rule that you look at in an event description and you kind of think like, ooh, I don't know if I'm totally comfortable with that. So that could be, this is a sober space. This could be, we're not talking about work. This could be, we're not using our phones. Or a personal favorite of mine, I have a friend who's a CEO and he hosts founder dinner parties, and his rule is everyone has to show up in a onesie, which I love that because it's just like, 1, everyone who shows up is the kind of founder who's down to not wear a suit and show up in pajamas that kind of maybe look like a dinosaur or a rabbit. And it also just helps people take themselves less seriously. It creates a safe environment. So 1, greet with intention. 2, clear hurdle rules. 3 is to model the kind of behavior that you want to see in your space. So an example I use is if you're hosting a dance party, it is your job to be the person who is dancing their face off, who is just going crazy, because if you do that, people will look at you and they will see it's safe for me to do this. Or if you're hosting a dinner party where you want people to have vulnerable conversations, you need to be the most vulnerable one there. You need to start the sharing to show people, am I being like echoey a little bit? If I move this down, is it? Don't do that. Keep it up here. Keep it up here. Okay. It's a little bit echoey, but I'll just keep going. So model the behavior that you want to see to show people that it's safe. And lastly is to close with a call to action. So there's this book, The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. It's amazing. Buy it. I highly recommend it. And she says that the thing that people remember the most in an event is the beginning and the end. So when you end your event, you have an opportunity to, 1, remind people of what they have in common. So I could say, we're all here at Startup Grind. We gave up our Tuesday. We are here to make new friends. We're here to grow our business. And this is more important to us right now than anything else. It's naming the obvious, but it's creating a shared sense of unity in the room from the start. And it helps people feel more comfortable connecting with each other afterwards. And then lastly, say what you hope people do at the end of this event. So it could be, I hope that you make 2 new friends and you schedule a coffee date with them. Or it could be as simple as, I hope that you know that you're not alone in feeling disconnected, and just sending people off because that last thing that you say is what they're really going to remember. So that's my voice in your phone. So again, those rules are 1, greet with intention. 2, set clear hurdle rules. 3, model the behavior that you want to see. And 4, close with a call to action. And now that you've heard those rules, and maybe you're a little bit convinced that creating spaces actually matters, but you don't know if it matters for your business. So I will use my company, The Joy List, as an example of how this really works. So as I said before, I've been doing this for 2.5 years. I have never done any paid marketing. There was one really badly done Facebook ad, to be honest, like 2 years ago. Didn't really do much. But since then, I have not paid for any marketing. It's only been word of mouth. And right now I have an audience of over 10,000 people in New York City. And they are deeply loyal to this newsletter. So to give you some numbers, on Mailchimp, the average open rate for a weekly email is 36%. And the click-through rate is 10%. And if you're not a newsletter person, that's actually very high. And for my monthly event, the Joy List Social, when I send out an email about one of those, the open rate goes all the way up to 80%, which you can see people are hungry for these spaces. They're like, oh my God, it's a space where I have permission to go and drop my walls and make new friends. Like, yes, I'm into that. The amount of people who've told me, I open no newsletters, I unsubscribe from everything, but your newsletter is the one that I keep because it actually solves this problem for me. I feel connected to other people in a way that no other newsletter does. And so again, that's just a problem that you can address for your customers. I lost my place for a second. So it shows people really want this connection. And again, the last thing is that last month for my event, people sold counterfeit tickets to my event. How insane is that? Like, this is not a Beyonce concert. This is literally an event where people come to drink kombucha and make new friends. And people bought the counterfeit tickets. Like, I had to deal with this counterfeit ticket situation, which made me feel really good because I was like, oh, my event's super popular now. But it really just, again, highlights this problem that people have. So to summarize everything, as a company, you have the power to create these spaces where people can connect. It's what everyone really wants. It's what everyone really needs. And hopefully now you have these tools to just keep in mind as you create these spaces, which is greeting with intention, creating clear hurdle rules, modeling the behavior you want to see, closing with the call to action. Those are some really easy ways to create a safe container. I'm going to do a little connection exercise with all of you, but before I do that, I just want to remind you of who I am. I'm Jillian Richardson, the founder of The Joy List. If you want to find me on the internet, I'm joylist.nyc is the website. We're at joylistnyc on Instagram. Or if you want to find me personally, I'm thatjillian.com or thatjillian on any social media platform. So thank you for listening to me. And now I feel like I can't be a person with a microphone in front of all of you talking about connection if I did not try and create some connection in this space. So again, I'm just going to make you close your eyes again. I'm so sorry. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. I invite you to close your eyes and think about someone who really loves you. Think about someone who would just love the opportunity to brag about you at a party. And that could be your mom, it could be your best friend, it could be a colleague. And just hold in your mind how that person might talk about you. And now when you open your eyes, I want you to turn to someone who you don't know, which I know is a challenge. You might be sitting next to someone you do know, ideally someone you do not know, and introduce yourself from the perspective of that person who loves you. And I love doing this because it gives us this beautiful permission to brag about ourselves. Just being like, this is what my mom would say about me. So go. Thank you.